Anyone who does physical activity needs to be aware that exercising will drain their body's salt stores. With the huge push in recent decades to lower our salt, often neglected are those aspects of life where we certainly shouldn't be restricting our salt. And one of those is when we exercise. I'll be talking to you about how salt is affected by exercise in relation to sweat, overhydration, overtraining symptoms, our joint health, and thirst. At the end, I'll tell you how you can add salt to your exercise program in order to boost your performance. I was inspired to make a video on this topic after reading Dr. James DiNicolantonio's book, The Salt Fix. Because I care about spreading the truth, I put in the extra work and read the studies he bases his claims on, and I've found some studies of my own. With all that out of the way, let's dive in. I'll begin with an interesting anecdote from Dr. James DiNicolantonio on how profound an impact salt can have on your exercise. He tells the story of how after 8 months of not going to the gym, he decided to go again. After an hour lifting weights, however, he collapses onto a bench, panting, nearly going unconscious. He realized he forgot one thing: salt. The next time he goes to the gym, he remembers to take salt beforehand, and during his workout he notices he's able to lift heavier, longer, and with more intensity, and he does a mile-long run without feeling tired. We may not all be collapsing after we exercise when we don't get enough salt, but this story goes to show that that precious white crystal is certainly doing something for us when we work out. When we exert our bodies, we tend to sweat. Sweat contains about 900 milligrams to 1400 milligrams of sodium per liter. We sweat about 1 to 1.5 liters per hour in moderate climates, and 2 to 3 liters in hot climates. In a very hot environment like India, however, you can lose up to 14,720 milligrams of sodium per day through your sweat. On average, a non-athletic adult will lose 600 milligrams of sodium per day in sweat. So, we can lose a substantial amount of sodium through our sweat alone in the course of a day, especially if it's warm out. How much more could we lose if we're exercising? There was a study done where people played soccer for an hour, and the temperature was about 35 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity was about 40%. During this soccer practice, the players lost an average of almost 2,000 milligrams of sodium each through their sweat. One player actually lost 6,000 milligrams. If you count their loss of sodium in their urine as well as in their sweat, they lost an average of 4,416 milligrams of sodium. That is way more than the government's daily recommended amount of sodium of 2,300 milligrams per day. We need sweat to cool our bodies down to prevent heat stroke, so it's unfortunate that we lose so much sodium through our sweat. There was another study done on 330 finishers of a triathlon, and researchers found that 18% of them had hyponatremia, that is, low sodium in the blood. 11 of them were severely hyponatremic. Most of the hyponatremic participants are suspecting of having this condition due to drinking too much water. Overhydrating with plain water is clearly a problem, as it can cause hyponatremia by diluting the concentration of sodium in the blood. When we get thirsty after exercising, we may be wanting salt, not necessarily water. Getting enough salt in our diet can actually reduce our thirst. For proper rehydration, it is essential that we consume water with sufficient sodium content when we're exercising. Otherwise, the water we drink will not be retained by the body. The last thing that I'll mention is that increasing our salt intake can improve our joint health because it is needed to take out acid from our cartilage cells, and low sodium increases the activity of our cells that degrade our cartilage tissue. I have an actionable step for you. Take 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt 30 minutes before your workout, and a 1/2 teaspoon after each hour of exercise if you're going to keep working out. The easiest way to do this is to put the salt directly into your mouth and then wash it down with water. You could mix the salt with water and then drink it, but that will not taste good. Alternatively, you can mix the salt with juice and consume it that way. Of course, this is not medical advice, and you should consider consulting your doctor before making this kind of change. Now, the potential benefits of adding salt to your diet prior to and during exercise are less thirst, more endurance, better performance, more muscle gain, less risk of arrhythmias, cramps, and fatigue, and improved kidney function. It's worth the experiment. If you thought this video was valuable and would like to support me, smash that like button, subscribe, and consider dropping me a donation using the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. The more you support me and my channel, the more we can both help the world become healthier. Make the healthy choice, especially when you don't feel like it.